What we're going to do next is install one of these kits on a 2015 GMC Sierra truck, which again is a really popular application for this kit. We'll show you a little bit before and after. We'll walk you through the installation, and from there, I think it'll be a done deal.
The first step to install the HID kit is to remove your air intake. From there, unclip your MAF sensor. You can then loosen the hose clamps. Now this truck has an aftermarket intake system, but they all come apart relatively the same. Just remove the hose clamp and lift the air box out. Working behind the passenger side headlight, the next step is to remove these two plastic clips to reveal the headlight bulb. This is a pretty common pry tool. You can pick it up at any local parts store. With the clips removed, you can fold the sheet down and you'll see your dust cover there. Grab on and turn it counterclockwise and you'll see your halogen headlight bulb. Reach in, turn it counterclockwise again to remove it and undo the connector. At this point, you need to drill a 7/8 to 1 inch hole in the back of the dust cover. Should look something like this when you're done. Now you can grab one of your HID bulbs and pass it through the hole you just drilled. If you pull this locking collar off, the wiring will fit through that hole you just drilled. And as long as you keep that hole between the 7/8 to 1 inch, the grommet should fit just fine. Now this plug goes to your OEM input. This is inside the headlight. It's what your headlight was plugged into from the factory. And this is your HID bulb. I would suggest cleaning this with the supplied rubbing alcohol and install it into the headlight. These connectors go to your HID ballast, and this connector powers the relay harness. Don't forget to install that locking collar you took off. At this point, you can plug your new HID wiring into the OEM plug wiring right here. On some of these trucks, these pins don't make a perfect connection with this OEM connector. It's a GMC Sierra issue between the models 2014 to 2015. Simply unplug this connector and you can bend the pins out slightly and reconnect it. This is one easy thing to check if you get this install done and something doesn't work. After cleaning the bulb with rubbing alcohol, you can install it into the headlight. Give it a turn clockwise to lock it in place. Tuck the wiring in and then you can grab your dust cover and turn that clockwise as well. Now that the HID bulb is installed, you can grab your Morimoto relay harness. We have the battery connection here that goes to the negative terminal on the battery, and the positive goes to the positive connection on the battery. We're going to mount the relays and then connect them to our ballasts. The first step will be to make the battery connections. On these trucks, you can just remove this red cover here. Then you can access this black cover, remove that as well. You'll then see a few different studs you can connect to. There's a 14mm nut, you can remove that now. Connect your Morimoto harness to it and then reattach the nut so it's nice and snug. You can go ahead and reinstall that black plastic cover. And then you can go ahead and install the red battery terminal cover. Now you can go ahead and install your negative wire. You can loosen the 10mm nut, place the negative connection on that, and reinstall that nut. Now we can connect our ballast and our bulbs. There's going to be a connector labeled OEM input. We can now install that cap link that we mentioned earlier on in the video. You can now plug that into the connector. Now, occasionally, these GM trucks can be wired backwards. The positive terminal inside the headlight can either be on the left side or the right side. If you get this install done and your relay chatters or your lights don't turn on at all, it can be useful to swap this connector around. At this point, you can install your capacitor link. Now, this is very important to install this connector to a very good ground. So if you're going to install it to the chassis, be sure to scrape the paint just a little bit to get a good connection. I'll do that now, loosen up the nut. This has already been installed, so we've already gone ahead and scraped the paint. As you can see here, this is a very clean ground. It's been cleared away and it won't give us any issues. Tighten that nut back down. The other end of the capacitor link is going to go to that same harness that we wired through the dust cover that is connected to our OEM input. Connect those wires now. At this point, you can install your Morimoto HID ballast. Connect these two plugs to the two plugs coming out of the dust cover. There's a shorter ballast connector on the HID wiring harness itself, labeled ballast. The shorter one plugs into this passenger side ballast. In just a moment, we're going to zip tie all this wiring up, but we have one wire remaining. This goes to the driver's side of the vehicle and plugs into the HID ballast over there. You can run it under this plastic panel inside here, tuck it up and inside, and it should come out over by that headlight. Now you might be tempted to zip tie this wiring harness up. I would wait until you get the airbox back in. It's a pretty tight fit, and the last thing you want to do is tidy it all up and have it be in the way of the airbox. With the ballast connector ran to the driver's side of the truck, you can connect it into the ballast, plug in the other two connectors as well. Now, thanks to that relay harness, we do not need this connector. So you can zip tie this up nicely along with the ballast once you've tested everything and make sure everything works properly. After testing everything to make sure it works, zip tie everything up, tidy it up, install that airbox you had removed in the beginning, and you should be on your way.
Now I know that plug and play LED headlight bulbs have become all the rage over the last couple of years, but if you ask me, good old HID is still the best of the best if you're looking for the most actual light output on the road and the best possible beam pattern. So there you have it, guys, the Morimoto Elite HID system, all of its options, a little demo on the install. You really can't beat it. So if you're looking for an HID setup for your car or truck, you gotta check this one out. It's the best of the best.